This is a Flying Cow production.
Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. Long ago, Nickelodeon introduced a series called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It combined great anime-style animation, strong storytelling, heart, and humor. It was great, and everyone that saw it loved it. Until one day, a terrible movie came out which everyone hated. But my co-host Loren Collins knows none of this because he's never seen the show. And that's why we are watching every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe this could be Loren's new favorite show. Or at least top 20. Well, hello and welcome back to Comets and Cabbages here on the Flying Cow, the show where we talk all about Avatar: The Last Airbender. My name is Clay Johnson, the Flying Cow himself, and I love an ocean kaiju.
Well, my name's Amanda Van Heil, and I like koi fish.
And I'm Loren Collins, and if I had to choose an immortal form as an immortal being, it would not be that of a koi fish.
Yeah, good point. All right, well, here we are finally talking about the finale, guys. The finale of Season 1, Book 1, Water, the first season of this show. Only 2 more to go. Yeah, we are to the finale. So thought it would be fun to just kind of check in as to, our overall thoughts of the series so far. Obviously, we want to hear from Loren, how he's feeling about the show, but also, myself and Amanda, because, we're coming from different standpoints. Amanda, this is only the second time that you've rewatched the whole series?
I've rewatched it many times. So I watched it for the first time over the summer, I think, because my foot was broken and I needed something to do. And then, I pretty much watch another episode every day, just about it. Before bed, I usually turn it on.
Okay.
All right. I've technically watched the series many, many times at this point.
Okay, well then you're caught up with me then. But it's for me, it's been a longer span of time. I've watched the show several times, but this is going back all the way to 2007 or whatever.
Funny story is I found an Avatar. It was an actual Avatar shirt at freaking Hollister of all places.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, when this show came out, the people at Hollister would have laughed at you for Avatar. They also had a Naruto shirt, and I'm just gonna order the Avatar one just on principle.
Very nice. But yeah, I do want to kind of check in with you guys and see what we're thinking about the season so far. Obviously, Loren, just your overall thoughts, but Amanda and me, are we experiencing the show in a different way than we have in the past? That kind of thing. So, Loren, what are you thinking about the show so far, the season that you have seen thus far?
It's come a long way. I think I've described way back at the beginning that I had tried watching this show some years ago. I'm not sure I even finished the first half-hour episode. It just didn't engage me.
Yeah.
At this point, the show has, I guess, gotten its claws at least a little bit into me. I'm engaged with it. I do want to continue watching, and I plan to see it through to the end. I'm interested in the characters and in the mythology.
Well, good, since we're doing this podcast.
Since we're doing this, exactly. But yeah, I found both Aang and Sokka both kind of, annoying and insufferable back at the start. They've come a long way. We obviously in the latter half of this season got a lot more of the mythology built out. And so I know what what the game plan for the series is. I understand a lot more now why one friend's recommendation a couple of years ago had been just to start with season 2, or that like it just really didn't like hit the ground until season 2. I understand why he said that now. So yeah, it's exciting to be done at this end of book 1, and see what the next book has to offer.
All right. Amanda, are you experiencing the show in a different way, or is it you having basically the same insights you did before?
So first time watching it was like, I can't believe I missed out on this, but this is so freaking cool.
Yeah,
And like
really
everybody that I told that I watched it for the first time, they're like, you're getting to experience Avatar for the first time. That is so freaking awesome. And so I was very happy about everybody's support on that, instead of it just being like, we never watched it. So I got to experience the first time, and now it's just like it has become my favorite show.
Well, there you go. There you go.
I
will say,
I love finding new things in it.
There you go. Yeah, I will say, and I've mentioned this before, but in previous times that I have watched the show, it's pretty much just been binging. I'll just watch one episode after, and usually when I watch this show, I'm done within a week or 2. Like, it really doesn't take me long to get through this show, but doing it for the podcast, where not only am I often, only watching at most 3 to 4 episodes at a time, sometimes just 1, sometimes just 2. I'm also, while I'm watching, I'm pausing to take notes. I'm looking for things that I've missed before. So I'm catching a lot of things that I never noticed, or, things that I just hadn't thought about, or even things that I had noticed but just forgot. So yeah, this is kind of a new way to experience the show for me as well. And it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun to do this. And I mean, I think we mentioned it off mic a few episodes back, but as much as I have enjoyed the rewatch of season 1, I'm really looking forward to getting into season 2 now. And I mean, especially season 3 when we get there, but there's some great stuff.
One of my favorite episodes is coming up in season 2. So
yeah, some great stuff in season 2 to look forward to, and really excited to be able to get there. But right now, we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna break down this final 2-part episode. It was called The Siege of the North, parts 1 and 2. And because they were produced as separate episodes, they aired on the same day, and honestly, on a lot of streaming. And well, actually, no. I told you guys this. I know at least Paramount Plus treats these still as 2 separate episodes, even though season 2 and 3 they group episodes. For some reason, season 1 they group nothing. Even though there's at least, the beginning and the end should be grouped. Yeah, so these 2 episodes are grouped in at least some different runs of the show, and we're going to be grouping them now. But so they have 2 different directors and 2 separate writers. The first episode was directed by Loren McMullen and written by John O'Brien. The second one, the ultimate finale of season 1, was directed by Dave Filoni. His last directing credit, I believe, on the show. And it was written by Aaron Ehasz. And they both aired December 2nd, 2005. As we said, the last episode, they got into the Water Nation, the Newt, the Northern Water Tribe, as I called it. And they set the stage for the Fire Nation basically following Aang in, and they are going to kind of try to use the tack of trying to capture Aang to also basically bring down the Northern Water Tribe, because the Northern Water Tribe is one of the last big strongholds in of any nation that has yet to be conquered by the Fire Nation. And so
it seems like they've been procrastinating on that one since since it's like they haven't really had a fight for 85 years, and it's just been sitting there.
I feel like the Fire Nation's just like, I really don't want to deal with them. I don't want to deal with the water people.
Cold. That's the problem.
Right.
They don't have a lot in the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
It's just out of their way.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak as to why, because it seems like they actually make quite a bit of headway in this two-part finale. And honestly, I'm like, had Aang not been there and they gotten the help that they got, they might not have been able to, stay independent.
It feels like if they'd attacked any time in the last 85 years until Aang got there, instead they picked 2 days after he got there.
Yeah. Well, because they were specifically following Aang in. Yeah. Not the best planners, the Fire
Maybe
Nation.
they were on kind of like all right, you don't bug us, we won't bug you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure that they had other things that they were working on as well, and it was just like, we'll get to them eventually, that kind of thing. But yeah, so the episode kind of starts off where we left off, with the waterbending class, and we are seeing that Katara is basically already top of the class. She has put all the other students to shame. That nobody wants to challenge Katara. Katara and Paku have come a long way. She is now teacher's pet. Whereas Aang is the class goofball. Because he doesn't seem to be interested in challenging Katara. He's interested in making himself a snowman. So and Paku is still not above throwing some snide remarks at Aang in that space, basically being like, Katara is a better waterbender than you, Aang, even though you've got not a lot of natural ability. She has, proven herself and, just had determination and fire, and you're just kind of goofing around. But, at least, Katara's doing well. But we also kind of are catching up with Sokka and Yue, even though the last thing Yue said is, we can't be around each other because it's too hard. It's too hard, Sokka. I can't be around you. They're still hanging out. They're still trying to be friends and everything. But
haven't we all had that person that we either dated or wanted to date and hung around them even though you shouldn't?
Oh, 100%. But not all of my interactions with that person ended with, we can't hang out anymore. It's too hard.
That's true. This is very true.
I can definitely empathize with Sokka's so you're not romantically, I still get to hang out with you? Sure. That sounds fine. That's
Sokka is like, okay, cool. We can't be boyfriend and girlfriend, but let's still be friends. But Yue is all about the trauma. She's just like, I can't, Sokka. It's too hard. Hey, you want to hang out?
His reaction, I understand. Her continued invitation towards him, I find slightly weirder and less explicable.
It's very melodramatic. Let's be honest. I don't want to throw any shade at Yue, but it's a little more than it needs to be. Just gonna say that.
One thing I did really like about this episode, though, is that continues to be their relationship through the end. Like she does, we eventually discover who she's engaged to. Who, by the way, for the longest time, I 100% assumed was going to be Zuko. Like I was absolutely.
Really?
Well,
You thought she was betrothed to Zuko?
Yes. I mean, there was even some line dropped at one point about how she was doing this for like the sake of the tribe, and I thought, okay. They've done this as a peace treaty with the Fire Nation. They betrothed her to a Fire Nation,
except for the fact that Zuko is a banished, disgraced prince.
I don't know when they got betrothed. I assume like his babies or something.
Well, I mean, even if they had been before that happened, I would have imagined that the Fire Lord was like, no, that's off. And if they wanted to keep it going, you're marrying Zhao instead.
For what it's worth, there's not an awful lot of communication clearly between the nations. Like they could still assume Zuko still assumes he's betrothed. They still haven't gotten any word that he's not. And I just fully assumed Zuko would show up and then like there'd be the sting of like, this is your fiance, the guy who's been trying to kill us for all this time. Regardless.
I will say when we do finally meet Yue's fiance Han, I honestly totally understand why Yue's like, we can't be together. And then she hangs out with Han again and she's like, hey, Sokka, want to hang out? Please?
Yeah.
Please? Please hang out with me.
That is a solid
cute, but oh my gosh, he's insufferable.
Yes. Sokka's better. But I did kind of like, especially for a cartoon like this, it's mainly aimed at children, that before the end of 2 episodes, we didn't have like that engagement break off and then her like trying to pursue a relationship with Sokka, at least flirtatiously or something. And then, of course, we reach the end and,
and then
that doesn't happen. She dies. But instead, like, no,
spoilers, Loren, spoilers.
Anyone listening to this episode, we can talk whatever order we want to here. Yeah. But no, instead, the engagement remains intact through the entire episode. Sokka's relationship to her that he's given from the chief is that he's to be her protector. And that's the relationship he holds on to until the very end. Right. And that when he feels like he's failed her, he failed her as in the job he'd been given to protect the princess. Right. And even though he gets his kiss there at the end, and that's more romantic, but it's not because he lost the woman like who was hopefully he was going to marry. He lost the woman who his job was to protect.
Right. And that he was interested in. Yeah.
And he was
genuinely cared about.
But no, I think a lesser cartoon would have split up Han and Yue at some point, and then had them also in a relationship, and then he loses her in that capacity too.
Well, and the fact that they are still betrothed after whatever amount of movement was shown in the last episode with Katara, being able to train, it just shows that okay, whatever movement they made, it doesn't extend to this. It's still, this is still a thing. This is still what we do. This is still the way that we do things. And so yeah, poor Yue is stuck, in a relationship with an absolute asshole. Like, often you will see, well, there's this guy and he's okay, but he's just not right for her. Han, at least at this point, has no redeeming features.
He's cute. That's about it.
Yeah, he's not even how I would imagine Haku at this age, where he's at least talented. Like he's just, as you said, at the most maybe eye candy, but like eye candy in like the broiest sense.
Yeah. He's like, look at my abs, and that's like his entire personality.
Yeah.
By the way, I did have when I was thinking it was Zuko, I did hesitate at one point. I was so certain it was not going to be just like another Water Tribe person that I even briefly considered whether the person she was betrothed to was Zhao, and he was going to show up.
See, again, I think Zhao makes more sense than Zuko.
Exactly.
That does make sense, because that would make it even like that'd be actually like both creepy and cool at the same time.
Exactly.
It's creepy, but like
that's
it happening.
Yeah, that makes more sense as a sort of a peace treaty between them. Is like they have to give up. She has to give up her freedom to marry like the admiral of the other.
Of course, then the story that has already been set up of Zhao saying, I need your men to go, take down they wouldn't need that because they would have already basically had a treaty with them. And basically the reveal would just be that they are, turning that they're stabbing Aang in the back. They're betraying Aang.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It also, and it feeds back to what I was saying a minute ago. It would make it too easy for her then to break off that engagement and be with Sokka, because clearly she should break it off with whoever the Fire Lord fiance, is.
Right.
But,
well, and also she should break it off with this dude too. But tradition. Yeah.
I feel like the chief doesn't even like him because the chief is like, dude, you just go to war. I'm gonna have Sokka with my girl.
No, I think the chief. I don't think the chief knows him very well. I think the chief only knows the face that this guy presents. I think that, the chief likes him as a prospective, future husband to his daughter. But, again, and it's even said by the character of Han later on that this is a political marriage. This is all about, power and influence and those types of things, because his reason for wanting to marry Yue has nothing to do with who she is. It has to do with who she's connected to and who her father is. But yeah. But just to kind of go back a little bit, Sokka just tries to keep things light, even with Yue, feeling a little over dramatic, and introduces her to Appa, which is always a good time because Appa immediately acts like the biggest dog in the world and just starts licking Sokka, which is the lady great. Love yeah. And it's at this point that they start to see black snow falling, and Sokka sees it on the ground. It is, and realizes that it is soot mixed with snow, which means that the Fire Nation is coming, that they are about to attack. So that puts everybody on alert. And they start to put plans into place to, kind of try to stop the Fire Nation. But it's at this point that Yue basically draws the line and says, hey, I know we're about to be attacked and this maybe isn't the best time, but we can't see each other anymore, even as friends. And Sokka's just like, really? Right now? This is the time? Okay. And, obviously he's upset. She's upset. And when the chief, what was his name again?
Arnuk,
basically is like, we've got a super secret special mission. We need volunteers. Sokka is the first one to volunteer. Because he thinks, I might as well make myself useful. I can't hang out with Yue anymore, even as friends. So, let's get into battle mode. And so he ends up being part of this, secret mission, this elite squad, and is introduced to the fact that this guy Han is not only leading the mission, but he is also betrothed to Yue, which Han has already shown his full ass to Sokka. And so Sokka's just like, really? This guy is okay. But they also show the fact that they are not prepared for the Fire Nation at all, because they have these uniforms, but they're 85 years old and they just assume that they're still current, because they plan for an infiltration mission. And I will say, from what I see, even though Sokka tells them, hey, these uniforms are old, these aren't the same uniforms, they won't work, they won't help. And by the way, the commanding officer is Zhao, because the chief's like, the first thing we need to find out is the name of the commanding officer. I love that they're just like, we're going to do this. Sokka's like, nope, that won't work. We need to know this. I know it already. Sokka is just, he is proving his worth in this group. But you know, with every turn.
Sokka's contribution here is literally just intelligence.
Sokka is crazy smart. That's the cool thing about Sokka.
Yeah, well, because he is willing to think outside of the box. You know, he's willing to think in a different way. Whereas we have seen that this is a tribe of things are done the way that we do them always. And this is the way that they're done. Who cares if there's a better way? This is the way that we do them in tradition. And because I imagine that the only reason that Han is in the position that he is because he probably comes from a rich family. He probably has no real credentials, but he's probably not even that great of a soldier. But because he is from the family that he's from, or has the influence that he has this position, and therefore Yue's hand. Sorry, Loren.
I was gonna say, it may honestly speak to how long it's been since they've been in battle that like one of their first instincts is not to debrief Sokka and Katara as to what do they know about the people about the fight.
Yeah, because they know that they have been, you know, traveling on their way. You know, surely they would have some important intel. But yeah, you're right. They never ask them. And it's not until this point that it's important. And I mean, had Sokka not been, I mean, honestly, it would have gone the same way that it does because Sokka eventually gets taken off of the task force, in which I immediately wrote Sokka off mission doomed. Because they take, even though he gives them intel, because Han's in charge, he takes none of Sokka's advice because he's an asshole. Yeah.
And we get a nice comic beat later in the episode of when he tries to, I think it is Han personally who tries to attack Zhao, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, because he, number one, never gets Zhao's name right. He calls him Admiral Cho, and then Admiral Chu, I think, when he goes to attack.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. And never gets his name right. Never changes out of the out of date uniform. Just, you know, insists on doing things the way that they had intended.
Yeah. And his attempt to take down Zhao eventually ends up being like to charge at Zhao by himself, and then just like Zhao steps out of the way and he like falls off the ship.
Yeah, to the point where Zhao himself, the poster boy for lack of control, is able to easily outwit this guy.
Yes. He barely even qualifies as an annoyance.
Yeah. So, like I said, really, really pointless. But like I mentioned, you know, Sokka eventually gets taken off of this mission because he has a fight with Han. Basically, you know, it's Han bragging about being, you know, engaged to Princess Yue and all the perks he's gonna get and all this kind of stuff. And you know, then going so far as to just be like, you know, I know that you've actually given us the only important information that we have, but you know, you are too unsophisticated to understand how we work or anything like that. No offense. To which Sokka immediately attacks him and responds with this:
"You're just a jerk without a soul. No offense."
No offense. Yeah. Jerk without a soul. I think that sums up Han pretty well.
I love it when Sokka just gets mad and tackles somebody.
Yeah. But, you know, when this happens, the chief immediately comes in and he's like, Sokka, you're off the mission. You know, and initially it does seem like it's a punishment. It's like, you know, I can't trust you guys together. Blah, blah, blah. But eventually he's just like, actually, Sokka, I did that so that you can protect my daughter. Which, I mean, you kind of already brought this up, Loren. It does seem funny that he would choose. I mean, I'm assuming that the chief has no clue about the situation going on with Yue and Sokka. You know, I'm sure Yue hasn't told him because, you know, if anything, the only thing that would happen from that is that she would get in trouble. So I'm sure she hasn't clued him in, and I'm sure he's oblivious at this point because, you know, it doesn't have to do with, you know, man stuff. So it can't be important. But, you know, he makes Sokka the bodyguard, not her her fiance, which does make you think that even though, he's in this place because of his family, all this kind of stuff, he's betrothed to Yue. I think that the chief does recognize, okay, you get all the accolades because you're from an important family, but Sokka's the better soldier. So I'm putting him with my daughter.
I still like to think that he just put Han over at the battle, just going, maybe he'll just die in battle. We don't.
I mean, who's to say? Who's to say that wasn't also a secret hope? But
you just pull up King David and just kind of just like, yeah, I'm gonna send you to the front line,
so I can get the son-in-law I really want.
Yeah, exactly. Go be a hero, Han.
Yeah. But honestly, Sokka marrying Yue would be more advantageous because it would actually link the two tribes.
Mm-hmm.
But
or having Master Paku marry Grand. I mean,
yeah,
she might be possibly for all we know. It's
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on what's the dating site for only old people?
Oh, I need a
mingle or something like.
I need a good pun for that. Yeah, let's circle back to that later after we've come up with a good app name for like elderly people.
I mean, there are real ones. I just can't
know there are ones, but we're sure we can come up with a funnier title for one.
I just keep thinking farmers only, and I know that's not it.
Yeah, that's not it.
I think of.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. It's called Geezer.
Geezers only.
Yeah, it's like Geezr. Geezer is the name of
wow.
Old person dating.
Twosies, because it's hip. But yeah, so Sokka signed up for this mission to get away from Yue, only to get pulled out of the mission to become her personal bodyguard. I'm just like, you gotta feel for Sokka and Yue in this situation. But while this has been going on, Aang, has been trying to do what he can to deal with the Fire Nation. They see one ship, Aang goes and takes it out, and honestly, it's tough for him to take out the ship that he takes out, at least in the scene that we get. Like, Appa helps, the waterbenders help, like, it is this big thing, and then he takes out this ship only to discover it was just the scout ship, one down, like 200 more to go. Like, it's an uphill climb, and he is starting to feel like he's going to be a little overwhelmed here, and takes out a few more ships, but he's exhausted, and there's still way more there than he's taken out. And so he starts trying to come up with ways that he can get help, and thinks, wouldn't it be a good idea if I could get help from the ocean and moon spirit, because waterbending is derived from the moon. And of course, there's the ocean with waterbending, and that's where they are. So, it seemed like some good spirits to have on hand. So Yue reveals to Aang that there is actually a kind of a spirit oasis in the Northern Water Tribe, and takes him to this place so that he can kind of commune with the spirits and see what kind of help he can get. And when they go there, it's like the warmest part of the Northern Water Tribe. There's grass there, and there's running water, and all of this kind of stuff. And and there's also a really cool koi pond with some rather mysterious looking fish one's white with a black spot, one's black with a white spot, and they just keep swimming around each other. Wonder if that's going to be important later. But he decides to try to commune with the spirits, and after a little bit of frustration initially, because Katara has to give you a exposition about Aang and his job. Aang does eventually, just by staring at the fish, get into the spirit world, where he gets some help from Avatar Roku, who tells him basically to go seek counsel from a spirit known as Ko, the Face Stealer. And so, Aang is there, he's the last time that we saw Aang kind of do a spirit journey, he was more on the spirit plane, because he had basically, his spirit had disconnected from his body, but he wasn't in the full spirit world. This is now the spirit world. We see like it looks like a swamp, and there's trees and other spirits and animals and stuff there. It's a very kind of kooky looking place, but very interesting. What did you guys think of this representation of the spirit world? Because this is kind of the first time that we've seen the spirit world itself.
It definitely looks otherworldly. It's the best way to describe it.
Sure.
Yeah, it has that atmosphere to it. I do suppose, thinking back on it, like it seemed underpopulated to me. Like
sure.
I would have thought like the spirit world would have had just more spirits hanging around. Like we see grand total of like, I don't know, 5 or something like that. He's there.
Well, and there's possibilities that they are there. They're just hiding. They're
they're absolutely
they're not in that spot, or maybe just the ones that he needs are present. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't need the weird monkey dude that ignores him, but
exactly. Yeah, we had the cute cameo for him and a tag later on when he reappears, but no, it's like the only spirit. He runs into a spirit at the beginning, and then he sort of sees Roku. He gets sent to another one, but he doesn't like seem to encounter very many others along the way. It's just like I said,
it's very desolate.
It's a very desolate spirit world.
It's like Dagobah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think actually they might have actually been invoking that type of atmosphere with this, because when he does eventually find Ko's cave, it is a little reminiscent of that dark side cave on Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some inspiration there.
Wait. I mean, Dave Filoni directed this episode. Like, what?
No. Dave Filoni directed the second one.
I'm sorry, the second episode. Darn it. Edit that joke out. I apologize.
It's okay. But yeah, so Aang is making his way to this spirit, and the one thing that we do know is that he's called Ko the Face Stealer. So he is warned by Roku that he needs to show no emotion, otherwise he's gonna steal his face. He's gonna snatch it right off of him. But yeah, he does eventually go to see.
It feel like a very like a very sort of Eastern, Japanese kind of mythology of kind of power.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, totally just want to circle back real quick. The monkey is Mark Hamill.
Oh, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
I had to look it up to double check, but yeah.
Do they give that character a name?
Oh, let me see. I think it's just like Spirit Baboon or something like that.
Yeah.
Baboon Spirit.
Okay.
Yeah. He does drop in the next episode as Ozai. Is he in this episode as Ozai?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
Just in the end here.
Okay.
Which really is only his second appearance, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Is he even am I looking at the right one? Is he even credited, Mark Hamill?
No, he's not credited. It's
okay.
listed. It's mentioned during a DVD audio commentary that he's voiced by Mark Hamill.
All right. Well, that's cool to know. But yeah, like I said, we will eventually get to Ko, but that's actually in the second episode. So I do want to catch us up with where we are with the Fire Nation storyline, because I don't think we get anything really from Zhao in this episode, except that, he's overconfident about their chances. We will see later on he's got a plan. He's not very forthcoming as to what that plan is, but we do see that he does indeed have, he seems very self-assured that whatever he's got in the works is going to work. He is also advised by Iroh, once the sun starts to go down, that they should stop their attack, because while they gain their power from the sun, they can still firebend at night, but it's not as powerful as it is in the daytime. The waterbenders gain more power from the moon. And again, waterbenders can waterbend during the daytime. It's just the strongest at night. So, if you're a firebender, you don't want to attack a waterbender at night.
Yeah. And it looks like we lost track of where the episode break was here, because like everything with the spirit world is in the second episode. Aang, goes into his trance.
It's fine.
And then, this is why
we see him go into his trance, at least in the first.
We see him go into his trance, but this is relevant to two other points we were just discussing. One, it means Mark Hamill was voicing Ozai and the baboon in the same episode. Sure. Like that he's already there in the studio. They have him record the baboon. That makes sense. And two, all the stuff about this looks like Dagobah, this looks like the Dark Side Cave. Dave Filoni did direct that episode.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. But the main thing going on is that Zuko has kind of a solo mission. His plan is to kind of sneak into the Water Tribe and basically kidnap Aang and sneak him out.
Yes.
What he actually plans, how he actually plans to do this, or what he plans to do with Aang once he gets him out, we see very quickly was not very well constructed. But the getting in and everything, he's got down. This
is what happens when he plans a scheme without Iroh's help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say Iroh at least knows about the scheme. Obviously, he didn't plan it with Iroh, because then there would have been, a little bit more planning involved in it. But I will say,
then you're going to just
yeah. But Iroh, because Iroh is facilitating Zuko leaving, because Zuko's been kind of stowed away aboard Zhao's vessel, preparing for this secret mission, and Iroh is kind of helping him out. And I will say there's a really sweet scene where Iroh is doing the kind of, paternal, he's like, don't forget your training, don't forget your fire breath. And he's like being, this kind of father figure. And, he even says to Zuko, I think of you as my own son, and it's a really sweet moment. And just to kind of see Iroh father Zuko is not only great for, it's a great scene overall, but it's not only good for Iroh, but, it's probably the most compassion from a father figure that Zuko has ever had. Because, his real dad burnt his face because he offended him. Not a good dad. Yeah, but so Zuko goes off, and here's this firebender surrounded by ice and water, and he sees a bunch of sea lion turtles going down this hole, and they're not coming up. And he's like, okay, there must be a passage that they're following. Let's see where they go. I mean, it's lucky for him that it does actually take him somewhere close inside the palace, and it's helpful and not just some random cave inside an iceberg.
Where they're just all hanging out.
Yeah. It's like, why did I follow them? I don't know. But yeah, he does follow them, and he is able to, find himself inside the city and kind of, crawls inside like the sewer system. At least that's what it looked like. It was a giant pipe that he was in, at least some sort of water filtration type system, and is now poised to, sneak in on, Katara and Aang while Aang is in the spirit world. Because, Katara makes the point that, Yue is like, do we need to get, somebody to help while he's, in this spirit world? And Katara is just like, no, I'm, I feel like I can protect him. And Zuko puts that to the test. So Katara and Zuko battle, and it's nighttime. The moon is up, because while Zhao did take Iroh's suggestion to not battle at night, apparently Zuko did not get that same advice, or at least didn't think about it or follow it. Yeah. Because he decides to attack in the middle of the night and takes on, Katara, and is even Zuko is impressed by what she has learned. And Katara is actually able at this point to, kind of subdue Zuko for the most part. But then the sun comes up. And once the sun comes up, all bets are off. She's still not a waterbending master. And also, he kind of catches her off guard and is able to kind of knock out Katara and leave with Aang. Now, whether or not Aang or Zuko went the way he came in and had to take Aang through water and stuff, I'm hoping not, because Aang's not conscious.
I thought visually they conveyed pretty clearly, like he had walked this pathway up to the top.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
it spanned all the way up through that, up to like the polar, area where he was carrying him across the snow.
Yeah. I think you're right. I just, they didn't say it. But yeah, either way, Zuko doesn't really see
Fire Nation folks are more powerful in the daytime.
Well, they are at their most powerful when the sun is up.
But is that something that I can run with that? But is this episode the first time they've mentioned that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so but yeah, Sokka makes his escape, but it's pretty clear that he doesn't really have he's got nobody waiting for him, nobody there to help him. They're just kind of now trudging through the snow with Aang on his back, and he's already apparently climbed quite a ways, but just to get to this snowy peak. So Zuko's got to be exhausted, because this is also after he's swam through icy water and then had a pretty challenging battle with Katara. So yeah, Zuko, not the best plan. Yeah. But that does really bring us into the things that happen in the second episode, which is where we get all of the spirit world shenanigans. I will say he does encounter the Spirit Co, which is basically kind of like a giant insect kind of scorpion-ish looking thing, but with like a white painted face. It's really creepy.
Like a clown face.
Yeah, like a white clown face. It's this really creepy character. And
Every
I will
time I watch it, I
say,
just forget how freaking creepy Ko is, and then he just
I do really like Ko's design.
I do too. I love it.
yeah. Well, and I also have to throw kudos to the rest of the production design, the music and everything, because it lends this really creepy vibe. I mean, obviously, Ko himself looks really creepy, but then everything else is lending to this sort of vibe, and so it all of it comes together to just kind of make you go. Ugh,
And there's
when,
like the faceless baboon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's that bit. Aang comes across a baboon or whatever, and it turns around and it's got no face. But Aang is talking to Ko, and while they're talking, Ko puts on several different faces, even mentioning the fact that one of Aang's past lives tried to kill him because Ko stole the face of the woman that he loved.
Does it
all
ever
of
get
this.
explained why he steals faces, or does he just do it for fun?
I assume that's
No, I will say
his shtick.
I will say in the comic books, it is revealed that his mother is, I think, the mother of faces, who basically she does the opposite of Ko, whereas Ko takes faces, she gives faces. It's actually in a pretty interesting comic book storyline, that takes place after the events of the series. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's just what his power is. So, I mean, spirits are often like very one-dimensional beings.
True.
Like they've got a talent. That's really what their whole personality, stems from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Aang is having this conversation with Ko, and Ko keeps mentioning and seems very confident that at some point during this conversation, he is going to get Aang's face. And I just imagined how weird would it be if, Zuko has Aang, and, once he finds a cave, he just puts him off to the side. How weird would it be if they're sitting there and all of a sudden Aang's face just disappears?
Do you think his tattoo would still be there?
I
think that gets stolen too.
I think that stays. I don't think the tattoo is part of the face. He loses like
I mean, I would imagine that I think that the tattoo would still stay on the faceless Aang, but I think when Ko showed off the face, he'd still show the bottom of the arrow.
True.
But yeah, just because otherwise, who the hell's that? But you got a bald kid. Good for you.
I apologize, but I can't remember it, and I can't even find it really quickly in the wiki. Why did he go to the face dealer? What was he trying to get?
So I forgot to mention that. So he talks to Roku because remember, the whole reason that he goes into the spirit world is because they're trying to connect with the ocean and moon spirits to get some help in this battle. And basically Roku tells him, well, they joined the mortal world like long ago. And they're super old spirits, and there's really only one spirit that I know that is old enough to remember that and might be able to tell you how to find them, and that is Ko.
Right. And, and he gives them the names Tui and La, which means push and pull.
Tui and La.
Or Tui and La. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, based on the sounds, Tui, it's just when you say it together, it's going to make a Tui sound. Yeah. So yeah, Tui and La, but which eventually Ko does reveal to Aang. And I will say Aang, when he makes the realization that, oh, it's the koi fish. You know, the fish that I was being so coy about before. But
I did
yeah,
not see that coming, because what I was told when we were being told, it's like the moon spirit has decided to take mortal form on Earth to like
Right.
experience life down here. I did not expect that form to be koi fish.
Yeah.
Especially because it wasn't. I got the impression, even though taking mortal form, I assumed probably still not mortal, because it is implied.
You assumed it was going to be people.
I assumed it was going to be people. First of all, I assumed the moon had become a person somewhere.
Sure.
Well,
kind
and
of. We'll get
the
there.
moon had become a person. Yeah. And ultimately, I, for the sake of the episode, you have to assume like it's a mortal form, but not actually mortal, because otherwise the fish would be dead. And it was kind of established. This happened.
Right. Yeah.
Ago,
Yeah.
like,
it's a long. Yeah. It just took basically a physical form within the physical world.
Yes. And got tired of being up there in the heavens and decided to live in this 6-foot pond. In the backwater. Yeah.
You know, with his buddy Ocean.
With the buddy.
Which, you know, you gotta wonder, you know, how routine are those conversations? Hey there, Twee. Hey there, La. How you doing today? Oh, good. What do you want to do?
Circles,
I think we just swim in circle.
Yeah.
Sounds
you want to
good.
swim? Want to swim the opposite direction? It's like no, I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
I'm
Going
good.
clockwise. Still good.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, if you want to change, just let me know. Just let me know.
Good talk. But yeah, so you know, when Aang realizes that, he actually does have a big expression, and Ko realizes it, but the moment he gets back, stone face Aang. And you know, that has to be hard for Aang, because Aang is super expressive and super just like all the time. So for him to be able to hold that is some patience. Good on you, Aang. Good on you. I mean, you know, because otherwise we'd have a faceless avatar, and that'd be weird.
That just look weird.
Yeah. But yeah, so he does have the identity of the spirits now. So he goes back to the mortal realm.
One thing before we leave Ko. I feel like as Aang's leaving, Ko shifts to one final, what appears to be a female face. Are we supposed to know who that is? Because it felt like it held on that image there for a minute, and
I think that was the girlfriend of the.
Yeah, I think he went back to the girlfriend.
Previous avatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
The previous a previous avatar's girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember, but I do know that he shows her face a couple of times.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably just like a remember this face, kind of a taunting thing, but
exactly.
It's like, no, I don't remember.
Yeah. I must have missed it the first time, because then at the end, like, he just holds on this one like brunette. It's like I'm going to guess this is an important person.
Yeah. It was the girlfriend. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Aang gets help going back to the physical world from an old friend, as Roku calls him, Hey Bye. So yeah, which, I mean, it was nice to see. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily call them friends, you know, but you know,
they became friends by the end, you know, got an acorn, and like we said, acorns solve everything.
It's true. And acorns do fix everything. Yeah. But yeah, so you know, he gets back to the spirit world, and he immediately goes back to the oasis, only to realize that his body is not there. And then immediately his spirit then just gets pulled back to his body and to his birdie. It gets pulled back to his body and becomes like a bright white streaming light. And you know, we saw a little bit before this that Katara and Sokka and I think Yue were all out looking for Aang, and they see the light and Sokka, or sorry, not Sokka, but Katara puts it together. That's Aang's spirit going to his body. We know where the body is now. So they follow that. Aang comes to, realizes he's with Zuko. He airbends, and it's always funny to me how Aang, even when he is in in bonds, can just airbend somebody with his mouth and own them for a limited amount of time, but just immediately knocks Zuko on his ass. And it's around this time, Aang is starting to crawl away, and Zuko is coming after him, and that's when Katara and Sokka catch up, and Zuko's just like, "Oh, did you come for a rematch?" And Katara's just like, yeah, not gonna be much of a rematch. We're in the middle of a snowstorm. You can't see the sun, and I'm pissed. So she does take out, and also Zuko has got to be exhausted. So she takes out Zuko pretty quickly. They have rescued Aang, and Aang is like, we got to take him with us, because if we leave him here, he will die. So, interesting wrinkle going on here. They do take it. I don't think they ever show that they tie Zuko up. Did you guys see Zuko tied up or anything like that?
When they pull him onto Appa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw them actually tie him up.
Yeah, obviously at this
shoot a
point
rope
he's
later.
knocked out. So, which is why they take him with them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they ever tie him up, and he doesn't come back into play until later against Zhao. So I guess he just took a very long nap, and when he realized what was going on, things had changed. But yeah, so they are they're back. Aang knows who the spirits are. Oh, and I didn't mention, he also got a warning from Ko, because he was like, we're here so that the spirits can help us. And he was like, well, they're actually in trouble because somebody's going to try to kill them. And so Aang realizes that they need to get back to the spirit oasis immediately, because bringing things back now around to Zhao, who, first of all, as we mentioned, immediately dispatches with Han. No muss, no fuss. I honestly, I had completely forgotten about that side plot until the guy just runs in, and I thought it was a really funny way just to conclude that little nothing mission.
Yes.
Because he just, Admiral Zhao, your days are numbered. And he just runs off the boat because he's an asshole. A dumbass. Easily taken care of. And Zhao reveals that he found a library with some texts in it, and discovered the physical forms of the ocean and moon spirit. And he has decided that he wants to act out the name of a Doctor Who story and kill the moon.
Doctor Who, yeah.
Yeah. He wants to kill the moon.
Yes.
To which Iroh goes, that's a really bad idea. Do not do that. But of course, because Zhao just thinks that, he's all about the accolades, and he just thinks, well, if I kill the moon, then I'll get all the hugs. The Fire Lord will love Zhao. If I kill the moon, because there's no more water bending and no moon, and all the hugs for Zhao. But he cannot be swayed from this course, even though Iroh is telling him it's a really, 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 really bad idea. But Zhao is committed. They are continuing to, once the sun comes up, obviously they are continuing the attack. Eventually they do get through the walls, and Zhao immediately makes, decides to start making his way towards the spirit oasis. And I believe when he gets there, Aang and the gang are not back yet, correct?
That
Do
is
you guys
correct.
remember? Yeah, I'm pretty sure when he gets there, nobody else is there. And so Zhao basically bags the moon spirit. Now, obviously, we did.
Legitimately upset me.
Oh, well, because all he does is put the fish in the bag, and everything goes red. Like the moon turns red, and it casts a red shade over everything. Like I guess that's just like warning, 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 warning. Because later on, it doesn't stay red. But Zhao puts the fish in the bag. I guess he wants to, take it home and overfeed it. But
and then he put some water in there with it.
Right, yeah.
That's the part that got me up. So I'm just like, he can't breathe.
Because it's just in this bag, and it's struggling a bit, and Zhao is just so full of his own ideas of the accolades that are coming to him. He's like, I will be known as Zhao the Invincible, Zhao the Incomparable, Zhao the Conqueror, all this kind of stuff. And I just wrote down Zhao the Idiot, because all Zhao cares about is becoming a legend. So he which in his eyes is the ultimate hug. Because if everybody remembers him as a legend, that means everybody loves Zhao, right? No, that's not what it means, Zhao. But yeah, so excuse me. Zhao, basically starts threatening the moon spirit. And this is what I wanted to mention before. We did mention the fact that they say that waterbending power comes from the moon, but I would imagine that it's in conjunction with the ocean, them, the push and pull, them working together kind of thing. Why is he only going after the moon? Why is he not choosing to go after just the ocean, or the ocean and the moon? Why do you guys think that he's choosing just the moon?
Well, I always feel like since the moon is kind of what controls the tides, that would be it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's also the possibility that if he kills the ocean, it might dry up. And that's
bad for an admiral in a navy.
Yeah. So maybe that's why.
They need some water, but they don't need to have the moon.
But I mean, you take out water, no more water benders. Of course, that's also, something you need to live is water. So
maybe somebody on his team told him, was like, sir, we do need water because then we won't have anything to drink. Oh, okay.
I mean,
it's not.
It does show that it's at least somebody had some insight there.
It is specifically an ocean spirit that'll help them with like certain ocean tribes, maybe. But if all waterbenders everywhere, get their powers from the moon, then yeah, lesser downsides as well.
Right. All right, but yeah, so he
I will say
threatening.
It does somewhat imply that like astronomy in this world works slightly differently than ours, where it works on a more like childlike level of the moon comes out at night, because like they refer to how like their powers are stronger at night, not when the moon's out, but the moon syncs up with the nighttime much more regularly there than here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a more spiritual plane kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, so Zhao is threatening the moon, and everybody jumps on Zhao. Obviously, Aang and the gang show up. They tell him what a bad idea this is, and even Aang points out that everybody, even the Fire Nation, needs the moon. This is a really bad idea. And even Iroh comes on side and basically tells Zhao, he's like, if you hurt that moon spirit, I'm basically going to give you 10 times whatever you give it. Which I'm just like, whoa, do not tempt Iroh. We know what a badass Iroh is. You do not want him on your bad side. But it was really interesting in this moment to see, Iroh I mean, yes, it's also just practical common sense, but to see Iroh kind of break ranks here and go against his, I mean, Iroh's a general. I still don't think that Zhao outranks him, even though he is kind of allowing Zhao, this is Zhao's mission. But at the same time, Firebender's pretty much just whatever the person in charge says, they just do it. Iroh is kind of breaking ranks here to be like, no, I don't care what side, what nation you come from. This is a bad idea. You are not going to do this. So it was kind of interesting to see kind of Iroh separate and kind of step away from the Fire Nation line at this point. So Zhao starts to let the spirit go, but you can tell that Zhao is getting his feelings hurt because he's doing all this for all the attention, and he realizes that everybody loves the moon. It's not that everybody loves Zhao. Everybody loves the moon.
This means no hugs for Zhao.
Exactly. No hugs for Zhao. So Zhao, like a child, throws a temper tantrum and kills the moon. And which causes, like I said, when he bagged the moon spirit, everything went red. But when he actually killed the moon spirit, everything went gray.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just amused by when you referred to Zhao bagging the moon spirit. I apologize.
Okay. But yeah, so everything is gray, and yeah, everybody kind of loses their shit. Iroh does go crazy on Zhao. Zhao is not necessarily able to defend himself, but is able to get away and evade. I believe once Zhao leaves, Iroh turns his attention now to the moon spirit to see if anything can be done. So yeah, and what I will say about this next series of scenes is that at this point it's Katara, Yue, and Iroh all at the before that, once the moon spirit is gone, Zhao leaves. Aang basically gets angry, goes into the Avatar state. He has kind of a chit chat with the ocean spirit, and they combine to form giant ocean kaiju. And, they set off basically to wipe out and take care of what's currently there of the Fire Nation. But while Aang is off, kicking ass and taking names. Like I said, the party I was mentioning before, Katara, Yue, and Iroh are now left at the Spirit Oasis, and they start kind of, trying to being like, what are we going to do kind of thing. At no point do they point out the fact that, well, Iroh's a firebender. What are you doing here? What Iroh, with his sensibility and the way that he went after Zhao, fits in enough. They don't even question it. And I actually kind of liked that, that they really don't even question Iroh's motives. They kind of see him as a kindred spirit in this moment. And, he wants to help and they let him. What did you guys have any thoughts about that, or did you even notice that?
Honestly, I never really noticed that part.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just because it flowed really well. And like you said, they just were like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Loren, any thoughts?
I mean, I took note of it just in the general of, that they've been rivals, but no, neither one of them wants to destroy the moon. So.
And Iroh never has really done anything to them other than just be.
Yeah, he
Zuko's
supports his nephew.
driver.
Yeah, he supports Zuko. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so excuse me. So they are, like I said, at the side of the spirit oasis, and Iroh recognizes that Yue has been touched by the moon spirit. And I will say at this point, and I believe, I mean, I don't know that we get close-ups of any of the other characters, but it's Yue's blue eyes are still piercing. And I don't think any of the other characters, we can't see, that they still have blue in their eyes, but Yue does. Like, that's the only thing that's in color at this point is Yue's eyes. And Yue basically talks about the fact that, she was practically born dead. And that when that happened, they prayed to the moon spirit and, put her in the spirit oasis. And basically, part of her life force came from the moon. And she realizes that what she needs to do now is give it back. And of course, Sokka is just like, no, you're a pretty lady. You can't leave me. But Yue is basically just like, no, this is what I was meant to do. We can't not have a moon. Because, if I survive and there's no moon, well, there's not much life. Things are going to fall apart. Plus, have you seen the guy I'm engaged to? I would rather die. Literally. So, yeah. So, Yue does. She gives her life force to the moon. And, she collapses in Sokka's arms. And basically, Sokka's like, she's gone. And the moon spirit comes back to life, goes back into the pond, and Yue disappears. Like, Force Ghost goes into the Force, disappears.
Yes.
And
you strike her down, she will become more powerful than you have ever imagined.
Exactly. And then basically reveals that now Yue is the moon. I just got to say, the moon's hot. But yeah, they have like a sweet little
and importantly
moment.
For Sokka, she is single and unengaged.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what real, relationship prospects they have, but they do share a sweet little kiss, before she kind of disappears and becomes one with the moon. Yeah, but she is gone.
I do wonder what Team Avatar was thinking, like when Sokka is kissing Moon Spirit, but they don't see him kissing her. They just see him just like.
It's Yue, guys. I swear, it's Yue. Sure, it is. Sokka.
Is it in Avengers Endgame when we see the opening scene from Guardians where he's dancing to the music, but we don't hear the music, so he just looks like he's dancing around like a goofball.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've established in this episode the moon spirit can take a mortal form. So if Yue really wanted to, she could just take the form of like Sokka's girlfriend and just
Well, I mean, but the moon spirit is already in physical form as the fish.
Ooh, that's right.
So yeah.
So Sokka is probably not that into fish. Make a good point. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not in that way. But yeah, I
would
will
hope
say when they first show the spirit oasis in the koi pond, they show Momo like looking like he's trying to get the. Could you imagine if Momo had eaten one of the fish?
Well, Momo, I guess you're just gonna have to sit in the pond now.
Yep.
Momo, you are the ocean now.
Yes.
Understand? But yeah, so so you know, that stuff is done, but we see Zhao has run away, and who is it that comes after him? Not Iroh, but Zuko, who apparently has just been knocked out and waited in the wings until this moment, and decides to go after you know, Zhao. While all of everything else has been happening, obviously, Aang as the giant ocean kaiju has been, you know, just taken out the entire Fire Nation. They got no chance. They are running. You know, they are getting out of Dodge. And you know, it's at that point that Aang kind of separates from the ocean spirit. But you know, the ocean is still kind of, you know, on a tear a little bit. And around this time, you know, Zhao and Zuko are fighting, and you know, Zuko has a little bit of the upper hand. And Zhao falls down and looks up and realizes that the moon is back. And he's like, no hugs for Zhao. And he is all upset. And it is at that point that Zhao gets the hug he has always wanted. The ocean comes out of nowhere and gives him a giant hug. And Zhao does not want it. He does not want the hug. But, you know, Zuko puts out his hand to try to help Zhao. But because Zhao is like, nope, I've been an asshole this long, I'm going to stick to my guns. And he pulls his hand back in. He's like, I'm just going to lean into the hug. And he goes down into the depths, and no more Zhao. I believe on his death certificate, it says death by hugs.
You know, it's pretty intense to like full on just kill somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's really the first like named character. I mean, you know, it's possible that other characters have died, you know, that we just didn't see. But yeah, you know, like random townspeople or anything like that. But yeah, they haven't actually like killed a character that we knew yet. And
like,
yeah,
basically killed him on screen.
Yeah.
I know you don't see him struggle underneath, but you definitely see him get pulled under.
I mean,
yeah.
I was hesitant.
No, I mean, we see the final embrace. We see the beginning of that hug.
I was hesitant to ask for that clarification because I was not entirely certain Zhao was dead. Like he very specifically dies in a way that leaves no body, and like no one afterwards like specifically says Zhao is dead.
I mean, he's an air breather that gets grabbed by the ocean spirit and then pulled into the depths of the ocean, never to be seen again.
No, he's pulled into like
he's probably dead.
He's pulled into the waterway in the city. We don't even see him underwater for more than a few seconds. Like if you wanted Zhao to survive, the door is open to bring Zhao back. That he just escaped 5 seconds later and like scrambled up onto a sidewalk somewhere. But
coming out saying that was the best hug I've ever had. He's going to be chasing that high for the rest of his life.
At the same time, though, the fact that like no one's bringing up like the Zhao got away or anything like that, like
no,
I feel like while
no one's in a rush to get him back either.
While the way it was staged could leave the door open for Zhao to have escaped and live on and will come back, in some other just injured next season. Like it would be hard to figure out how to do that without Aang knowing he got away. Because Aang's like part of the involved in pulling him underwater. So like if he did escape,
Well,
Aang,
no, Aang has separated at that point.
at that point,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. The ocean and Aang and the ocean are no longer joined at that point.
Because Aang
That's
is
just
really
the
big on
ocean
not
spirit
killing.
that does that.
hold up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, in that case, I still would have been left open with the door of like, I don't know if the ocean spirit killed Zhao or not, but now I know he's not coming back. So,
I'm pretty sure Zhao's been claimed.
well, I mean, y'all have seen the rest of the series. I haven't, and you weren't hinting
I
around
mean,
it. You were just saying
I'm not telling you that I disagree that it doesn't, if they had wanted to, and honestly, it's possible that they were like, leave it kind of ambiguous, so in case we decide to bring back Zhao, we can.
No, exactly. Yeah.
It's like
that's
Boba Fett
possible.
falling into the Sarlacc pit. We don't
Exactly.
see the dead body.
Yes. No, I think Amanda, you said that. I think you said that specifically in the last episode. Like if we don't see a body. So
Yeah.
and yeah, we very specifically do not see a body. We don't see him being dragged out to the ocean. We don't
Yeah.
see him like just being held underwater and like nothing coming up or anything like that.
So it's assumed he's dead, but he could still be alive.
Easily, yes, exactly. I mean,
Just hanging out with the ocean spirit.
I have seen people come back from much worse than being dragged underwater. You know, there's at least one Batman comic I remember where it really, really appears like some guy gets like dragged underwater and like chopped up by a boat and still made it out okay.
Lovely.
So, yes.
Maybe
but
he's like
yeah,
living on an island and just having to like be a fisherman the rest of his life.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that is at least the end of Zhao as we know it. And the rest of the Fire Nation is off licking their wounds. We do see kind of Iroh kind of rescue Zuko, and they make like a raft, and Iroh's just like, I'm surprised you're not making plans to go after the Avatar. Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, honestly, Uncle, I am very tired. I just want to rest. And I think Iroh is just like, good. That's the choice that you should have made. I'm glad that you actually made it. But yeah, so they go off and they're doing their own thing. We do see kind of a wrap up with the Northern Tribe. We see the chief talking to Sokka, basically saying that he had a vision that this was what was going to happen the whole time. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, why were you trying to make her marry an asshole? But whatever. He's at peace with it, kind of thing. Plus, I'm just like, how many parents can literally look up and say, I raised to the moon?
That's true.
Yeah. I'm
You're like,
partially
"That's my
responsible for that." Yeah, that's my girl. Yeah.
Think you can like see what you're doing? Because that would be like super embarrassing.
Yeah. I think I'd draw a lot of curtains at nighttime when the moon is up. Yeah, that'd be awkward. But we also get told that Paku and some of the other members of the Northern Tribe, even though they've just been attacked, they're now finally going to go check on the Southern Tribe and help them rebuild. And I'm just like, finally, it's about time. But yeah, so, and that a good bit of the reason that Paku is going is to be like, hey, Kana, interested in trying to start something back up here? No betrothal this time, promise.
Just thought I'd leave the ball in your court, see if you're interested. Met your grandkids; they're delightful.
They're great. Hey, I'm not as sexist as I used to be. Still am sexist, but not as sexist.
Yeah,
it's declining.
I've decided in my older years there need to be more women in my life, specifically you.
Yes. Absolutely. And then I think the very last scene that we get is really kind of a tease for next season, because we get, this is obviously we had the flashback with Zuko in the Fire Nation and saw kind of the Fire Lord's inner sanctum, but this is the first time that we've seen it in real time. Like, this is not a flashback, this is happening at the same time as everything else. And we hear from Ozai basically calling Iroh a traitor and Zuko a failure, and basically entrusting, notice he did not mention Zhao at all. Not a thought. So I don't think that Zhao was ever as important to the Fire Lord as Zhao thought he was.
Maybe the Fire Lord was just constantly giving Zhao stuff just to keep him away from him and thinking he'll die in one of these battles.
Yeah, you know what, Zhao? Go get your hugs somewhere else. You want to be an admiral? Go be an admiral. Go do that. Have fun.
What is it he says? He calls one of them a traitor.
He calls Iroh a traitor and Zuko a failure.
Yeah. And I mean, at least in that sense, like, the problem for both of them is those are family who have, let him down.
Yeah.
And Zhao at least is not family. He's just a part of his military.
No, but they were both technically entrusted with going after the Avatar.
Yeah.
So technically was Zhao. In fact, you listen to Zhao and he was the one with the most power to get the Avatar. But
I'm supposed to get the Avatar, not Zuko.
Yeah. But he also failed, but he's not mentioned. But he is, doing this, entrusting the task now to a new person. And I will say, earlier in this episode, they mentioned Zuko's sister. Was that the first time that we've mentioned Zuko's sister?
I don't think I've ever heard it mentioned before.
I mean, we see her in that one flashback, but it's never like established that's her sister.
But they never say. But this is now the first kind. I mean, again, in this scene, they don't name the connection, but we get a glimpse of this girl again, and I will just confirm this is Zuko's sister, Azula.
Yeah.
She's gonna play quite the part in the especially the next season coming up.
Yeah, we have seen her before because I asked about her before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did, but she didn't have a name. We didn't know who she was.
So she was literally just a face. She was just in a crowd of
face
people,
in the crowd. Yeah,
and down front. There's no sense of whether or not she was family, other than the fact that, like, she's just, I think, standing next to Zhao. I think.
Yeah, she's standing next to Iroh. Iroh is between Zhao and Azula.
Okay, so
he's happily watching the Agni Kai.
Yeah.
Iroh looks away.
Those were the three people we knew. We knew two people in that shot. There were a bunch of, like, generic looking dudes in the background, and then this clearly unique looking woman standing down front.
Yeah.
So I mean, that did help. I recognized her when she showed up again. It's like I wasn't, I think he said daughter there at the end. He didn't say her name, but or did he? Yeah.
I don't think he ever said Azula.
No, I'm pretty sure
he didn't say her name.
Okay.
But he might have called her daughter. I don't know.
I think he said daughter.
Possibly.
So in fact, if you want to go ahead and there should be a transcript here somewhere. Transcript. Yeah, there we are. Yeah. So yeah, keep going while I pull this up.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we get, another voice appearance of Mark Hamill here. I still have not seen Ozai's face. Still keeping that shrouded in mystery. But we are getting introduced to a new character that's going to be very important next season. And I am definitely looking forward to all of that.
Yes, the last line of the episode is, Iroh is a traitor and your brother Zuko is a failure.
Your brother Zuko. Okay, yes. Okay. So it is referenced that, she's Zuko's sister. So yeah. Well, because the reference to sister is Zuko saying that my sister is a firebending prodigy.
Ah, okay. I guess I just didn't pick up on that whenever that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we've already set her up as she's going to be a force to be reckoned with type of thing. But yeah.
Oh yeah, that's when he's just talking to unconscious Aang, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, you're like my sister. Everything comes natural to her. But I have
that now I
fight for everything I get. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that little speech that he gives to Aang while Aang is unconscious is actually, it's another little insight to Zuko's mentality. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, do we have anything else that we want to say about this extra large finale episode before we move on?
Don't think so.
No. All right. Then let us go ahead and start off with our segments. Starting off with our My Cabbages moment. Which is, of course, the moment in the episode where we discuss our favorite or most interesting scene in the episode. So, Amanda, we're going to start with you. What was your My Cabbages moment for this episode?
That's hard because there were a lot of really good moments in this one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just going to go with a simple, quick moment that just made me laugh. And that was with Aang and Heibai when, the baboon spirit told him to, was good riddance. And then Heibai turned into, angry version and just ah!
Yeah. All right. Loren.
I seem to recall chuckling at Han's line when he yelled about "prepare to meet your fate" and then just promptly charged right off.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give mine. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, there's so many. I mean, it's a 2-part episode, so there's a lot to choose from. The battle sequences were great. The Katara and Zuko fight. Just the overall fight with the Fire Nation and the NWT.
Even Momo got involved in the fighting.
Yeah. He jumps on Zhao. He's the first one to be like, "You asshole! Why would you kill the moon?" But yeah, some great stuff. But I think I'm gonna give my scene to a non-fight scene. I am going to actually give it to the UA becoming the moon. Kind of even that whole build up, Iroh, kind of coaxing the story out of her telling the story and her deciding to basically give up her life for the moon, her last little kiss with Sokka, all that is really cool and really sweet. And, some interesting storytelling. So, all right. Well, then it is time then for our Mako Award. This is the award that is given to our favorite or most interesting character for the episode. So, Loren, we're going to start off with you, sir. What or who gets your Mako Award?
Well, I was tempted to give it to UA because, like you said, the arc she goes through and her self-sacrifice there at the end, which is nice to see in what's essentially a children's cartoon here, making the ultimate sacrifice. But and actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to amend my previous answer here in a second.
Okay.
Yes, because I remembered what was my Cabbages moment. Okay. I'm going to give it to Zuko. Okay. Generally speaking, the arc he goes through here, he's finally been deprived of his ship, his men, and he's out on his own, still doing a mission. We get nice moments, like you said, when he's speaking to the unconscious Aang. We get a lot of what he has had stripped away from him, and some nice him being proactive, but also some further insight into what motivates him. To go back and amend my cabbages moment, because I remembered I did clock this when I went back and rewatched the last few minutes of the episode before we started. The moment that Sokka and Arnok have, standing out looking over the ocean, as Sokka asks her father if he's proud of her, and he says that yes, he was so proud of her, and just also so sad. And it's a
really good scene.
It's a really beautiful little quiet moment there with just the two of them talking, and then ending on the silence of this, just like looking out.
It was also kind of the most redemptive scene for Arn, because really the only other things we've seen him are siding with a sexist asshole, and the fact that he's like, that's what I expect from my future son-in-law, to another asshole. And it's just like, you got to get on the right side here, dude.
Yeah. But like, you're right. We haven't seen a lot of him, but you, something in just the quietness of the scene and the voice acting in the moment is just, it really does sell like the conflicted emotions of he is a proud father, and he is just so sad to miss her.
Agreed. All right. Amanda, who gets your Mako award?
Oh, it's going to UA, like easy. Yeah, she's incredibly melodramatic, but at the same time, if I knew I wasn't going to be living much longer, I probably would be too. Especially, it's like you're not only are you not going to live long, you're going to have to marry this asshole. So, I think she gets a pass there. And it's funny, I saw a post one time, somebody saying how everybody with Aang and the gang, everybody in Avatar is a war criminal of some sort, with the exception of Yue. She's the only one who's never done anything wrong.
Yeah. No, it's true. I will say I definitely strongly thought about giving it to Yue as well. She is, an interesting character. I mean, she turns into the moon, for crying out loud. That's pretty cool. But I think ultimately I have to go ahead and give the ultimate hug to Zhao. Because we saw him kind of in full just dumbass mode, and this is regardless of what you think may or may not have happened to him, this is the story that seals his fate. Whatever it was, his trajectory towards ultimately his desire for power and to be loved and adored caused him to make so many terrible decisions that he sealed his own fate. He sealed his own doom. And I think Jason Isaacs, as performing that role is great. And Zhao is a fun character. He's one of those villains that you can't wait to see get his comeuppance. And honestly, Jason Isaacs is great at playing that type of character. So it was a really kind of good combination of character and voice actor. So I'm sure that there was there's a little bit of cheer that goes out when you see, Zhao got what was coming to him, kind of thing. So giving it to Zhao. All right, so now we're going to the rating the episode. So this is going to be on the Avatar State Meter. From 1 to 5, 5 being the best, the show at full power, 1 being the worst, could deal the show a fatal blow. So, Amanda, where would you put this episode on the meter?
This one was super intense. It was really cool. I'm giving it a 4.5. Only reason it's not getting a 5 is my favorite episode is coming up in a few.
There you go.
One of mine.
Sure. All right, Loren?
I'll go ahead and give it a 4.5. It was a strong episode here. A strong way to end the season. Important stuff happened. Yeah, like I said at the top, has me looking forward to the next book.
Well, there you go. Well, I am going to make it unanimous with a 4.5. Just round it out for all the reasons you guys said. I think it's a great kind of season finale, and it's also leaves enough open threads that I'm interested in what's coming next, type of thing. So they did a good job of wrapping up the things that they needed to while planting seeds for what was coming up. I imagine that if I was watching this concurrently with the show coming out, I would be really excited by this episode and really looking forward to the next season, which is really the job of a season finale. And I think it did it well. So yeah, 4.5. All right.
I watched a ton of Nickelodeon growing up, and this is by far probably the most intense show on Nickelodeon I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's also one of the most, plot driven and, with an actual through line. Most of the others were very episodic. They weren't serialized. So
we had a handful of like live action ones that were serialized, but none of them were this intense.
Yeah.
No, I at least the stuff I grew up with on Nickelodeon, I wouldn't think of as intense. I guess maybe the occasional episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Here or there, but even as a generally speaking, not that show. Not a lot of intense story arcs in SpongeBob, from what I understand. Haven't watched much of it. But and off the top of my head, I can't even name any other Nickelodeon shows. That's how little of a cultural impact it made on me in more recent years.
We didn't get Disney Channel, so I watched Nickelodeon all the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, now is the time to go ahead and let people know how they can get into contact with us. So you can contact me at the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. Do not forget to check out all of the great shows that we have going on. Also, make sure to check out patreon.com/theflyingcow. Lots of great stuff over there. Loren, I'm going to throw to you this time.
I'm still on Twitter at Loren Collins. I think normally I wouldn't try to plug this twice in 2 episodes, but because it's a season finale here, if you're in the Atlanta area, come see Lend Me a Tenor at Act 3 Productions. That'll be in March. Given I don't know when precisely this episode drops, so
around January.
Around January, yeah. So by then we'll be in rehearsals. So yeah, come see me as the bellhop. Since we were just talking SpongeBob, auditions for that won't be for a while, but they are doing SpongeBob the Musical in Norcross in May.
Fun.
So looking forward to that, because I will be going out to audition for that show. So yes.
All right, Amanda.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, assuming Twitter still exists by the time this opens up, at Amanda Van Heil. You can find me on Twitch at Panda Princessa, and then hosting Zelda Weekly on Zelda Universe TV on YouTube.
All right. Yes. Make sure to check out all of those things. And we will be back at some point. I haven't completely decided. We might decide to take a week or 2 off in between seasons, or we might be back immediately. You'll find out when the episodes drop. But we will be back. I believe at some point we're going to find some way to review the Last Airbender movie. We will look out for your socials for when that might be coming out. But other than that, we will, of course, be back to review the next season, Book 2, starting with Episode 1, The Avatar State. So, yeah, make sure to check that out. But until that time, Moo.
Mm.